from Stoic Arboreals. Did I say your last name right?
Yeah, it's Pegues. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Sweet. Heard it a couple times, so
Yeah, no problem.
I should know it by now.
Right on.
How are you doing tonight, Dominic?
Pretty good, pretty good. It was a bit of a rush to try to get here. Wednesday is definitely not a good night for doing podcasts, but I'm here. I made it, and yeah, so I'm happy to be here. Happy to talk mainly boas today, probably some green trees as well. So it should be a pretty good show. Anything with you? Anything you, buddy?
Well, I got a prelay from the black milk snake, and another prelay from the other subok. And I think the first subok that had her shed is gonna lay, I don't know, anytime in the next week. So yeah, everything else is good. So yeah, I got some egg boxes ready, and yeah, nothing too much. What about you? Anything else hatch out, or
not bad.
still?
I still got 3 females that I'm on the lookout. There's one that laid the one slug like 10 days ago. So the fact that she pushed out one slug, I know she's got something in her. She's probably around day 24 now post ovulation, so she should lay anytime. That's a ocelot zebra jungle carpet, and I got another female that is full of eggs that shed about 3 days ago, and I can feel them. So that would be a Papuan that is bred. She should produce marbles. She's a proven exanthic het granite, but the male is another male that I used again. Instead of using my proven male, I'm using a unproven. I think he's exanthic, 66% possible granite. So I've kind of used all my extra possible ones because I just want to prove them all out or disprove them to thin down the army. And I'll be honest, I'm doing all that for absolutely nothing because as of next year, I've got a trio of I'll say subadult exanthic granites. So a 2-year-old male and 2 3-year-old females. So realistically, I don't even know why I'm keeping everything back. They'll probably all be moving out once I can do it. Yeah, except for that, I'm just panicking. My little pygmy python is still on eggs. It's been about a week, and I have no idea how they're doing. I can't see the eggs. The box that she decided to put herself into, all I can see is just a little bit through a door, and I can see just red, and it looks like she's coiled around eggs. When I temp her, she's temping at about 86, but when I've actually pulled out and I actually temped the eggs, they were like 87.8 or something like that. So it looks like she's doing good, but for all I know, they're already dead, all dried up, and I'm doing really badly. MI is not for me. I'm telling you, I fucking hate every single second of it. I don't know why people do it. I don't know what the idea is. Like, it's so easy to control it all on your own. So to me, it's just stress for no reason. I mean, and it's a clutch that, I'll be honest with you, I don't care much. I've produced 5 or 6 clutches of pygmy now, and I just want to try MI. And I told myself, if I lose them all, I lose them all. But it'd be nice to get them, but then raising them up, I end up losing 50%, if not 70%, to just trying to get them to feed past the 6-month stage. So I figured it's a good one to try, but I don't know, man. Like I think I would need a setup. I can open a bin and temp it every once a week and actually look at the eggs. There is no way for me to go look at the eggs without taking the entire like plastic bin and pull it fully out and taking a look at it. So for that reason, I'm just leaving it alone. But I don't know. I'm wetting the cage around, but not the actual lead box, hoping that the humidity is going. But again,
the females will go, like, I think I heard from some guys that the females will go in the water bowl if they need to and kind of get themselves humid, and then they'll wrap back around the eggs. Same as how you might get her to eat, right? Like you might get her to come off the eggs and eat. You probably would want to try that maybe more at the end, so they're not. So you don't risk them pooping on the eggs, but I'm sure they might know what they're doing. It's hard to tell.
I haven't seen her leave the eggs yet, but it's only been a week, right? So again, they're probably like dried raisins right now. So I'm just gonna assume that the whole thing is gonna be
pessimistic and prepare for the worst.
I'd be optimistic if it was in an incubator.
Sure.
There's just no control. I literally do not know what's going on in that bin. I hate everything about it. I'm going to love it if I see eggs, like little heads coming out and I can take a picture of it. But right now, I hate it.
But you're the type of person that likes a challenge. That's why you even tried that, So when you have done it so many times, you have to do something that pushes you past that limit again. That's how most of us start to get,
Yeah, fair enough. I kind of agree. I'll be honest. The main reason I did it is because it's been years that I keep saying I'm going to do it. And I always chicken out, or I always see eggs. I'm like, I got to put that in the incubator. And this year I was like, I said I would do it. I have to do it. So
it's going to be bragging rights too.
Yeah, I don't even know if they're.
Well, it'd be pretty cool to do Perthensis as a
to take a picture with little heads poking out of the inner coils.
And then you just put a loony beside it and just show how tiny they are.
I like the picture of the mother on eggs in your hand, and it's covering only like half your hand. Like that's a pretty classic picture. I've done that every single year. This year I didn't because I'm trying not to disturb her too much, but yeah, so basically that's my update. I mean, it's only been like 4 days since we did a podcast, right? So not much else. I don't think my diamonds are going to go this year. She's still a little bit like she's 6 feet, but she's, I don't know, like the size around as a golf ball. Like she's not that big.
Yeah.
But her head is finally starting to build up. So next year is going to be a good year. Roughies don't look good. They're almost too big now. I think I've fed the crap out of it, hoping that it would get them to go. But now I might need to like starve them over the summer because they're pretty much ready to go for next year already. They've got a little bit too much on the muffin top.
Yeah. So you could always kind of lean them out with some infrequent small meals kind of thing, or more frequent tiny meals, something like that, to get their metabolism going, but they're going to burn calories instead of gaining calories, kind of thing. You could try that, and then hit them in the fall.
Chicks.
Yeah,
that would be a good way to do it.
Yeah, awesome. What's new with you this time of year, Randy?
Well, actually, this time of year is a little bit different for me. Normally, this time of year is going to be heavy breeding seasons. My tree boas are always spring breeders, so I kind of get everything prepped and ready. Start pairing stuff up, kind of preliminary in January, February. Typically, I don't start seeing stuff until around March or later. It just seems like that we're getting like warmer and warmer winters up here. So I've noticed that things are going a little bit later. So I've started seeing things in like more like May and June now. But I mean, whatever. But right now I actually just bought some property. So I moved out here in October, and I'm kind of fixing up one of my shops for a reptile room. So I have to move them again. So they're going to be disturbed quite a bit. I do have some things paired up, and I have seen some locks. I'm not too optimistic about it, but that's kind of we kind of keep it pessimistic a little bit and then just kind of see what happens. I just throw them together, and that's why I like the tree boas, is because they're fairly easy to breed. I tell people when they ask me like, how do you get these things to produce every year? And it's just like, you just throw them together and just you're patient and you feed them. You separate them to feed them, put them back together, and you just keep doing that. They don't really, you can cycle them to get like better, yields and stuff like that. But the thing is like they want to reproduce. Most of these animals do. We just kind of have to step out of the way and let them do their thing. We think that we need to control these things all the time. And, the longer you start doing this stuff, the more you realize that they will do this themselves, regardless of these little tweaks that I think that I need to make. So I started doing less and less as I matured in my keeping, and just kind of let them do their thing. I live up here in the Pacific Northwest, so I've had people like Nick Mutton and Ryan Young and Mark Goyer and all these guys in my ear. So, I've kind of just taken a lot of the same approaches to things. Keep it smaller, feed it leaner meals. Don't feed it all year round, that kind of stuff. So yeah, this time of year, it's moving stuff in. I should be finished with that snake room. This weekend I should be finished up. I'm hoping I can start moving in Sunday, Monday, but then I have people visiting me, so that might take up a little time too.
Before you continue and get too far out, can I just go back on one thing you said? So just so I understand, do you mean that like you're reducing the extremes of your cycles, like maybe like not going down as low as you used to be? Not, is that what you mean by like you're reducing the?
No, I with my cycling, what I do is I don't necessarily do that stuff anymore. What I do is I just keep the window cracked, and sometimes a year it's cracked even more. And I just let the outside elements kind of dictate what's going on. I like to use the little Casa Wi-Fi timers, and you can just set your lights and stuff up to the same sunrise sunset schedule as the outside. And I just let things kind of do their thing. You know, even if you have the thermostat set typically at a specific temperature, it's going to range within the room, and then within the time of year. It's going to work harder one time of year than the other time of the year. So things are going to dry out or stay a little bit more humid. Like up here in the Pacific Northwest, summers is, you know, it's not bad with the humidity, but then the wintertime, it just sucks it out. You know, it gets cold, and it's just the humidity is really hard to keep up. So run a humidifier and that kind of stuff to combat those things.
And how far north are you, just so I know?
There's I don't know if people are familiar with Washington State, but there's actually some islands here on the northwest side. So I live just under the San Juan Islands on a large island called Whidbey Island.
Let me ask it differently.
Not too far from where I was.
I was going to say, how far from Canada are you? You're just a few hundred kilometers, or
80
miles? No,
like it's probably like a 2-hour drive.
Okay, so you're pretty deep.
Oh, it is 2 hours? I thought it was a lot. Oh, yeah, because you have to ferry, or
no. On the north end, we have Deception Pass, so we can go to Deception Pass to Hidalgo, over the twin bridges to the mainland, and then we can just go up straight from there on I-5.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I thought it was like a lot closer, because like Bellingham is always like, oh, that's only like 20 minutes away kind of thing.
Yeah,
but obviously it's a little longer, but.
Maybe not 2 hours in, because I can get to Bellingham in like an hour, 15 minutes, something like that. You know,
I guess it depends how busy the border is, kind of thing. But it's because you guys. I remember my parents said it didn't even snow this year, or like maybe you guys got.
Exactly. No, it was pretty warm, and it doesn't snow very often here on the island. We kind of stay pretty insulated because of the water around us. And just the way that it's kind of like its own little microclimate. So we typically stay between like 35 and 75 like all year round. It's like perfect. Yeah. We will get like maybe a week or two of snow, and then like a week or two of temperatures above 85, which is super rare.
Yeah, I know. Once you get out in the Fraser Valley, it's like it'll be 28 in Vancouver, and it'll be like 33 out in Chilliwack, kind of thing. It's just like, but if you're in the sun, it feels kind of hot no matter where it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love the Pacific Northwest in terms of it's that like never too hot, never too cold. Usually,
it's gorgeous up here, and when it gets, you know, I'm just acclimated. I grew up in California, Texas, Florida, but when I came up here, my dad was a Navy pilot. I just never wanted to leave. It's so temperate and cool, and a little bit more laid back than a lot of places, and so I just kind of found a home here, and I never even knew about this place, and it's gorgeous. You know, step outside and there's coyotes down my road, or deer in my yard, and rabbits, and all kinds of birds, and owls in my backyard. You know, it's gorgeous up here.
Oh yeah, everywhere in the Pacific Northwest, Dominic. You need to make your way back there at some point.
Have you lived
someday?
Up here?
Pardon me?
Have you lived up here?
I mean, I've been to the Pacific Northwest. I've been a couple of times, but I live on the east side, so I'm basically just under Pennsylvania, New York-ish area.
Okay.
So like we're in that little part of Canada that kind of dips down into the United States. So some places in the United States are actually more northern than us.
Okay.
So, but I mean, if you look at Canada, 90% of the entire population lives within 100 kilometers from the border of the United States, right? Like nobody likes to go where it's too cold. So it kind of sucks. So, but so just going back on your cycling, I wonder if your train of thought would be different if you lived in Texas, right? Because if you lived in Texas, you wouldn't have your room that would be automatically changing to a certain degree, right? So you're able to follow your outside environment, let's be honest, is still cycling for you, right? So I just feel like I get that you're not purposely are pushing it more and more, but you do have the environment that really helps you. Like I probably have similar temperature, and I mean my outside is really helping me all the time too.
Yeah, but almost anywhere in the United States is going to have a temperature swing between winter and summer here. I mean, maybe Key West, but even then, I lived in Corpus Christi, Texas, and it got cold. I lived in Jacksonville, Florida, and it got cold there too. So just the change at all, even if it's hot, like dry or wet, or hot or cold, just those subtle changes is what I'm saying is they do cycle. I don't force a cycle. I allow things to naturally happen, and I just kind of use that to my advantage, and I don't try to fight it. That's all.
Yeah, that's exactly. You're just kind of letting it roll and rolling with it, and kind of.
I want to make things easy. I'm a really busy guy. I have 3 businesses and 5 kids, and they all play sports. And I'm married, and she's, at least she's taken this year off. She was a select soccer coach as well, as full-time behavioral specialist. So we're just all over the place all the time. So my snakes are kind of my free time away from stuff, and I want to make it easy and fun and be able to enjoy my animals and not so much nitpick stuff, I kind of find the easy ways around stuff to still figure it out. Like I used to do saltwater reef and corals, and my tank was gorgeous. I built it in the wall, and it was like immaculate. No algae at all except for coralline algae. It was just amazing. SPS coral, everything. But I didn't measure everything out. I didn't do it precisely. I find ways to kind of figure it out without having to overthink things. I have discus fish now that are built into my wall right here in front of me. I rarely do a water change. There's a lot of things that you can do that people think that you have to do in order to achieve results. And I think that we need to stop overthinking everything. That's not going to happen. We're still going to overthink, but I think we need to slow down on really trying to change things up all the time, especially if we're getting good results.
Yeah, for sure. And you also find, like you say, you find those little things that it's like, well, you don't need a water change because I got you get a big enough filter, to add more plants. Exactly.
Yep.
Not overfeed too much and not overstock it.
Exactly. Like I don't overfeed. I have way over filtration. Like on this tank in the wall, it's like 3 filters. 2 of them have UV lights on them. Tons of plants everywhere. A big soil bed with tons of crushed coral and aqua soil and all kinds of stuff that like help balance the water levels and stuff and make it stable. So you try to find ways, whether it be fish keeping or reptile keeping or anything, that you try to like just make things easier for yourself. You automate stuff. So there's automated lights or misting systems, stuff like that, like just to make it more enjoyable. That's what I try to do. And then just let things do what they do.
Yeah, for sure. So what does your collection kind of consist of right now? I guess we can probably skip the general how you got into it, because I know you've done a few of these, right? I remember you're at THP, and then obviously you've been on you've been on Jeremy's, and then you've been on Trap Talk. So yeah, you've definitely
I've been on quite a few podcasts. I enjoy just talking about animals. I don't get to do it as much in my professional life. It's mainly like construction or stuff like that, and it's kind of just fun to stop and actually talk about something I really am passionate about. And that's the animals. They come first, and then they're, obviously, my family comes first, but my animals are really something that I just have a love for. So I go out there and I just take care of them, and that helps calm my anxiety and my stress from all the business related stuff. And that's kind of why I keep doing it, regardless if I have a good or bad season.
Yeah, for sure. You gotta have that balance in life, kind of thing, and that's what we all have to find, and why most of us do this hobby in the first place. So yeah.
I'd agree. The only thing is, though, sometimes you got to figure out what you're like. It took me a while to figure out the collection size that was really the right balance, right? Sometimes when your life is too busy and then you're dreading, like, oh my God, when am I going to find time to clean the animals or things like that? And you're like, oh my God, well, and eventually you start slowing down or you start changing. And it took me a while to figure out the when I was stopping. And I've had a certain set amount of cages, and I haven't bought or grown an extra cage in probably about 5 or 6 years now, and I don't want any extra because I think anything more is just going to stress me out and it's going to be too much. So by not buying more cages, if I want to bring something in, something needs to leave.
Yep. No, I completely agree with that. My room is, I've always had smaller rooms, and that kind of keeps me modest a bit, that I can't just go crazy. And I try to really stay specific. The Amazon tree boas are my passion. That's really what I like. That's what gets me really excited. When I go in there, if I'm messing with something, it's typically an Amazon tree boa. Right now, I don't even have green tree pythons at my location. I've sent some off on loan. Have some babies raising up that eventually may be sent back to me. I don't really know exactly what I'm doing yet, but green tree pythons were the first snake that I've ever bred. So they always have like that place in my heart. I love green tree pythons, but I don't know if I just got jaded, but I was just like, I want something different than a green snake on a stick. And so I started looking into Amazon tree boas, and I really fell in love with them. I also have Dominican red mountain boas. That was another species that I didn't see very much at the time, and I was really intrigued by them, and I like to challenge myself. A lot of people told me how hard they were to breed or to rear the babies, and I knew that the other species that I worked with, some of the Amazon tree boa babies can be difficult. Most of the litters are pretty easygoing, but I've had some fair share of litters that won't make you pull the rest of your hair out. Green tree pythons can do the same thing, assist feed a baby for 6 months and it dies anyways. There's a lot of things that go into those. But I found the Dominicans were actually fairly easy for me, just because I had a source for anoles. So out of 4 years, I had between 18 and 22 babies each litter, and I only lost 4 babies out of the entire 4 years. So that was is a win for me. I've kind of taken a couple of years off just because they have so many babies that it's just like I have to get a lot of anoles. And so I would purchase anoles from a buddy in Florida who would catch them with his son, and he would just ship hundreds to me at a time, tiniest size that he could find. And I just freeze them and offer them thawed. I just drop fed, and they'll always eat. I mean, 9 times out of 10 they'll eat. Might take them a couple times, but they're easy. Yeah, to me they were fairly easy. So.
And how did you switch them over? Would you kind of drop a frozen thawed pinky in there with it, just so?
So what I did was the first litter that I had, I tried to. The first year I actually had 2 litters. Then, yeah, that's what it was. It was 2 litters, so it was 3 years. 2 litters, and then 1 litter, and then 1 litter is what I had. And so I would try a few different things. The first year I tried with some of them a certain amount of time. Like if I fed them 3 anoles, then I would try to scent a fuzzy, right? Because I wanted something with a little bit of hair to it to see if that would entice them. So I would scent, just like rub the butt or the tail end of that on the nose. And then, but I would only, I found out that really, like, they're such a timid species that you can't even really tongue feed them. So if you try to tongue feed them, it's just going to spook them and they're going to run. So you'd have to drop feed everything. So I learned that once they became bold enough to accept the anole off tongues, that's when it was time to start transferring over to rodents. And then once I learned that, and I just kind of learned from trial and error, my wife would be in there helping me all the time, so I wouldn't spend all night in the snake room. And so, you know, we learned that, like, yeah, if you just make sure that they get stepped off tongs first, scent, and then offer, it's like that that muscle memory that they have, that they just want to eat it off the tongs. So they end up taking it pretty easy. So that's what I found with them.
Interesting. And an anole expensive to buy, or is it just a few bucks just by curiosity?
So the last 2 years, I didn't even try to breed them, so I don't know if the rates have gone up. I mean, I would spend between $1 and $3 depending on the size of the anole, but because I knew the guy, he would just throw extras in. Like if he caught sometimes he would just say that he would catch handfuls of babies and he would just throw them in, you know? And so like I would pay for like 300 or 500 at a time. And then, you know, I would open the bag and they're alive. So I had to like learn how to like, okay, like he's putting them in the bag alive. So I have to either, you know, freeze them off while they're in the bag or just, you know, take some live out. Cause there's always going to be like a handful that don't accept the frozen thawed, but they will alive. And so, I mean, it's like, do you worry about parasites or do you, you know, try to keep them alive? And so those ones I would offer live to on the next order is what I would do. Is I always try to feed frozen thawed first. And I mean, yeah, so I would just, you know, make it worth my while. If I had to pay shipping to get the anoles overnighted, then I would buy at least 300 at a time. To me, that, you know, $1.80 a piece or whatever would come out to at the end, or, you know, it's just like, it's not that bad because they're smaller than a rodent, but that's what they're eating. So, and they take it no problem. You know, I've had a lot of people tell me that they've used quail and had luck, but they've had to kind of tinker with it a little bit. And then other people would just assist feed until they started taking. But I hadn't experienced that just because I had the anoles and they took them, just the brown anoles.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna have to learn how to do that because the anoles there's not too many feeder anoles up here. Like I think I could maybe try to find some, but
where are you at?
It's definitely a lot harder because you can get brown anoles, but when they're from a pet store, they're not cheap anymore. Like they used to be.
What area are you, Michael?
I'm in southern Alberta now because I moved in February from Surrey to here. Yeah. So now I would have to look at some of the wholesalers from out east. Probably would be the best bet.
Do you know Cody Joe up there?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean I was talking to him about it too because he's bred the Dominicans and we were talking back and forth, and he can't get anoles like that either. You know, and if he can't get the anoles, it's going to be really hard for a lot of people to get them, just because of how many people he knows. But he had pretty good luck with quail. I don't know what you're trying to feed. But
so I'll have Strigolatus.
Okay.
Hopefully in the next 4 or 5 months. I guess we'll see. Okay. She had her I'm guessing it's a post-ov shed because I was talking to Rob Stone and he said yeah, if the female sheds, because he was I sent him a picture of mine, kind of, I was like, well, I don't know, she just ate, but then they were locked up for a couple months, and then then I was kind of asking him, and he's like, well, my Puerto Ricans are going later this year, and they were locked up like the day he sent me that picture. So I threw mine back together, and they locked up immediately, and then she went into shed like 2 days later. So
is she just seeking heat right now, or what is she doing?
Yeah, well, she kind of always does, but she's kind of seeking heat, and then she's kind of moving around kind of how she wants to.
Does she do the little donut pose, or just when I see them like that, the Chilobothras, when they're like sitting like a little donut under the heat, that's almost a telltale sign that thing is about to ovulate or has already ovulated and you just didn't catch it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this year I was pretty good at just leaving the male in. Like there's a month there where he was just in there with her locking on and off kind of thing, which is better than last year, because last year I didn't get any locks, or I didn't see any locks.
Yeah,
so this year
kind of little ninja breeders. But if that's kind of my rule of thumb. I make it easy for myself. If I see something that looks like swelling and I'm like questioning myself if it's, just follicular development or if it's actual ovulation, I'll mark it, but I'll still leave the male in just to be safe always. I'll just be like, okay, well, I need to see them forced to separate, like they usually will do that where they're like, don't want anything to do with each other, most species.
Oh, yeah.
And you can kind of say, okay, let's separate them and maybe I'll put them back in just in case again. And then from there, they'll usually tell you like what's going on. I just, like Eugene Bissett used to say is like, just be a student of the serpent. You just kind of like really observe and watch them and learn from their behaviors. And over time, you realize if there's inconsistencies or some kind of differences, you take notice of those things.
Yeah, for sure. Because these animals are from Jeff back in their 2015 animals.
Mm-hmm.
So Cody Joe actually has the other pair of this line. So yeah, because he bred that other lineage of Strigolatus back in 2021, but now I just got
I saw that.
I got the male that bred, and then one of the offspring because the female passed away the other year. So now I just have to hope for Michael. What's his name from Germany? That does the West Indian Boas website with Jeff Sena. Yeah, because he has that lineage of Strigolatus as well. But yeah, I know the Strigolatus. I was talking to Stephen Woodward, and he was talking about how the anole juice scent works really well with them now. Just with like anole scent on boiled pinks, they'll take it like 80% of the time, kind of thing. So I'm kind of, if I could get some of that, that'd be great. But I'm thinking even if I just get 5 or 10 brown anoles and kind of make a slurry with it and use it to scent as much as I can, kind of thing. That's probably better than just trying to use quail and chicks, which probably aren't going to do the trick, right?
No, I mean maybe later on. But did you ask Cody about his feeding technique? If they're also timid like the striatus are?
No, not yet. Because
because I noticed the Dominicans, they're very shy and timid. Like just the sight of the tongs or you too much really spooks them, and they bolt, and you're not going to get them to like divert their attention at all. Like they're just gone.
Yeah. I even noticed that because I did get some Dominicans at one point. Yeah. I think I have an idea of how I want to do it because I know how I do the Clubrids, like the subox. I just do the kind of drop feed and leave it, and they'll all take it, and then you'll like one of my female subox doesn't even take it off tongs, but she eats every time, kind of thing. But I see what you mean there, though. It would be nice to get them to the point where you can just tongue feed it on an anole and try that. So yeah, that's kind of the game plan I had, was just to make a slurry and kind of try to stretch it out with scenting, either maybe try to boil them. But yeah, that was kind of my idea. But if I can find some feeder anoles, I think I'll try that too.
Yeah, I mean, worst case scenario, like maybe take a fuzzy. They should be big enough to take a fuzzy off the bat if they're about the same size as striatus.
There's some pictures Jeff has of them eating pinkies, and the pinkies look big.
Look big, huh?
Because these guys, I think they're the same. The adults are the same size. Like my female Strigolatus she's like good size. Like probably the biggest rainbow boa you've seen is probably about the size of her. The males are obviously leaner and a bit smaller, but
yeah,
she's a solid probably 6 feet kind of thing.
Yeah.
But for some reason they seem to have like smaller babies than the Dominicans. Maybe not. I haven't seen like a fresh Dominican, but yeah, they're pretty tiny. So I'm thinking it's probably going to have to be pinks to get started, which because they grow super slow. Like the one from 2021 from Cody Joe, that thing doesn't even like, it still looks like a juvenile. Like it's eating, it's growing.
No,
like
that's pretty. Like until they hit slow. Like after 3 years old, they are super tiny. So when people are like, "Can you breed them at 4?" I'm like, if you can get them big enough at 4, but they still look like babies at 4. Like once they get over that 3-year mark, they'll hit a growth spurt between that 4 and 5 year age, and then they'll really like start to take off and want to eat like big meals. But yeah, it's really hard to get them like a good size within that first 3 years. They take forever. So it took me like, I think mine were 6 and 7 when they first bred. So
yeah, I think it's also why Tyrone had the pair I have before me, and then when he sent them to me, she was actually full of slugs because I thought she was just fat, and then
yeah,
apparently she was eating all good, and then as soon as I got her, she
she passed it all at least.
she stopped eating. Oh yeah, she dropped
Yeah.
like 30 slugs kind
Holy
of thing.
cow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like she had like 20 and then 10 over the next like 6 months kind of came out slowly.
Okay.
But yeah, so we'll
Yeah,
see. Fingers are crossed. Yeah. Yeah. So what does your Amazon collection kind of look like right now? Like how many animals are you working with kind of thing? Like 20 or so adults, or are you working with have a lot of holdbacks kind of mixed in there?
I mean, I have some holdbacks. I try to keep like my collection around that 30 mark or under. Um, like Dom was saying, like you kind of have a number that you need to be comfortable with, and I really don't want to produce more than like 5 clutches or litters a year, depending on what I'm doing, and if I'm working with someone else, like if I could send babies off or if they're doing a loan for me or something like that, like I'll do more. But yeah, for me here, 5 litters is probably like the most I want to do. I keep it small. And then that way I can kind of just cherry pick what I want, and I don't have to. I've been fortunate enough that like, people know that if they want Amazon tree boas, there's a good handful of people here that they can reach out to. So I have never put anything on Morph Market before. I usually just post it on my Instagram, and before I even put for sale or anything, I usually have people asking me for specific things. So I mean that's nice and flattering that things go like that. But for me, like it's really about like just producing those babies and just being able to like see the new thing. Yeah, so I try to keep it between like that 20 and 30 mark. So I do sell most of my babies off. I don't try to hold like a ton of them back. And that way other people get to enjoy it too, whether they're breeding or just keeping. And then, some of these people I've sold animals to, they're just crazy, one of the reddest Dominican red mountain boas that I produced is in Nick Mutton's hands, and he likes to show me that all the time. So that's cool. And then some of the other ones, like I have some friends in Florida that got some babies for me, and it's just like they're just amazing looking, So, I really like the calico stuff with the Amazon tree boas. I think most people are kind of drawn to a red snake. If they could see a snake that's pure red or red and white or red, white, and black, some orange in there or something like that, they really like that look. So that obviously drew me to them, yellow snakes, orange snakes, red snakes. After you've had, years of just green snakes, it was kind of a nice variety to kind of start dabbling into. Then I started realizing that the calico gene itself was so variable. You can literally have an entire room full of calicos and have none of them look alike, right? You can have the calico tigers. We're starting to understand that we can we're starting to understand some of these genetics and the way that they we reproduce and how they're inherited. So we kind of use some of that knowledge, and we all just kind of talk about it and show each other like these results. I know some people are a bit secretive about it, but I know eventually that stuff will come out, and we just share the results. And it's been fun to kind of be early in the game with the Amazons. It was just something that I saw, and I was really drawn to it. I didn't care how cheap they were back in the day. I used to get them from Cam over at Bushmaster for like $20, 15, $20 for gardens. And he said, $40, $60 for coloreds. And if there's fancy, $100, like he was just, that's what they were. But I just liked them. I thought they were cool. And You know, I always thought people love arboreal snakes. They love to be able to go into a room, see a snake out in the open, perched up or kind of draped or laying out so that you can see, like cryptic basking or something like that. But people also love the genetic aspect of like ball pythons, corn snakes, that kind of stuff, and carpet pythons. So why not combine the two, right? A small snake that you can keep in pretty much any place, right? If you had an apartment, you can keep one or two, no problem. It's easy to keep. They're easy to breed. They're easy to feed. They're very hardy. So on, they're kind of like a easier version of a green tree python at first. Green tree pythons are actually fairly easy to keep, but you just have to kind of keep things a little bit more stable. The Amazons can tolerate a little bit more, you know, I guess imperfections, or if you slack off a little bit, you know, it's not that big of a deal. The humidity drops or whatever. They're usually pretty easy to kind of come around. And that's why I decided that I really wanted to start working with the Amazons. They're beautiful. I mean, just the shape of them. I really enjoy a snake that has a nice shape to its head and definition to the neck. I don't know why, but for some reason, like a lot of the colubrids kind of remind me of like a worm. So it just really, I don't mind them. I think they're still cool. It's just not a snake that I want to keep myself. I love the Amazon tree boas. I love most arboreal stuff, right? You know, I do love emeralds. I love Sanzinia. You know, all of the arboreal stuff is pretty cool. I even like some of the colubrid stuff too. I would probably get some tiger rat snakes if.
Oh yeah, those are cool.
Yeah,
actually, those are sadly illegal in Alberta for some dumb reason. Same
Really?
as how Gonyosoma are illegal here. They just it's the weirdest thing. Them, like, I get the Diones and the Russians.
Iguanas are illegal here, and it's like it doesn't, you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's more of a Lasiac thing, or than an actual them being illegal, right?
That's true.
But yeah. Hey, me and Dom could get them, but nobody really cares up here, which is kind of like people care, right? But it's like
the Fijis.
It's
like but they're kind of like, if you want them, you can get them. They still, like, you can get a male banded for $1,500.
Yeah,
kind of thing. The cresteds I've seen their price tags are still pretty high, but
you know what? If banded iguanas had no legs, I'd probably keep them.
Yeah, I don't know. They don't really do it for me. They're not really an Agamakai kind of guy.
I'm not either.
So going much work. I do have some monitors, but there's just so much more work. You know, I have green tree monitors and Molinas monitor.
Do you mind if we go back to a bit the morphs with Amazon? So I've always tried to figure it out, and you don't need to go too much into details, but my understanding was most of them were all either polygenic or just we don't know. Is there like and I don't know many of them. Like I know Calico, I know Tiger. I've heard Garden Phase. I've heard a couple of them, but I'm pretty sure there's more. Do you mind kind of going over, like, I don't know if you say, like, for example, this is a Calico. Calo is different colors, spots, blah, blah, blah. And right now we're kind of thinking it's polygenic. Just have a quickly, and you don't need to go into the secrets that you don't want to share, just the overall or what is understood.
And so people understand the way Amazon tree boas are, right? And they always go back to thinking about, like, they use the examples of like ball pythons typically because people understand those genetics a little bit more. So right, we have recessive, incomplete, dominant traits. Ball pythons, we had a lot less of a palette to work with, and we were able to reverse engineer and pull genes out of these snakes, right? And come up and concentrate these things and creates just some crazy anomalies and patterns that are actually able to be reproduced. The same thing can go with Amazons, right? If you take a ball python nowadays, right, like that has let's say 10 different genetic mutations in it, right? There's a $100,000 snake, let's say. If you take that snake and that snake was found in the wild, how would you be able to figure out what is in that snake without knowing what is in that snake? And that's how Amazon tree boas start, right? A lot of the animals that are in the wild, there's so many different colors, and the reason for that is because it works, right? A lot of different species will have different genetics that are also found in the wild. You're a carpet guy, exanthic, right? Most carpet pythons, like in the wild, will have an exanthic form, right? And that's because it works, because those dark colors do the same thing that the normal colors would do, but maybe even better. Who knows, right? But they're able to, camouflage or whatever they need to do. And the same goes with the Amazon tree boas. People thought that like the gardens were actually the normal ones. And I think it's the same kind of situation. All right. I think that's the exanthic wild part of the normal. I always tell people, when you look at an Amazon tree boa, you want to kind of look at a normal like this. A normal is going to be like a tricolor, right? A tricolor, but these all have like sliding scales of color and pigment. So it's going to be like tricolor has the orange, yellow, and then black spots, right? Or some patterning. Some of them can have patterning, some of them have spots. That's a tricolor. But there could be less black in the animal, and that could be found in the wild, or it could be line bred, or it could be concentrated more on the yellow side or the orange side, right? But these are all like what we would consider like a normal Amazon tree boa. The gardens or Halloween's the same thing. They're what we think is exanthic, right? I like to debate Nick on this because that's not what he's thinking. And I love that he's trying to, everyone is trying to like figure out like, Dayton's working on this. I know Billy Hunt has a ton of gardens down in Florida. There's so many people that are trying to figure out like what these things are. And that's what we need to do, is really start deconstructing and like, and reverse engineering some of these genetics. So we'll start with, the genetics here. Okay. Red and calico. These two, right, are actually one phenotype right now. Red, calico, right? We say red/calico because we do not know if we can separate the two. All reds do not look like a calico, but every single calico starts red or is red. So every single one so far. Some of us are working on other animals that have very similar look to them, but they're not red. We cannot call them calicos yet. So red and calico right now, because the only results that we have printed by Dayton Croydon and Nick Mutton, documented, red so far is recessive. Red calico is a recessive trait. Okay. Then you have Halloween. Halloween and garden. It's the same thing. One of them exhibits more red or orange, right? Or yellow, right? Just depending where that scale is. That is also what we think from the results proven over and over and over again. Garden is also recessive. And then from there, we have tiger. You shown examples of them?
Yeah, I think he just pulled it up.
Sorry. I was just trying to pull up the color morphs at the same time as you were talking about, but I'm a little slower than you, so I just figured I'd look at them while you were talking about them. They're just random.
So we have the red calico, and then we have the Halloween garden. Those are both recessive traits that have been proven yet. And there's, how science works, it's always changing, right? So the results that we have now may be different in 10 or 20 years from now. That's why we continue to take notes and compare things with each other. But yeah, so that's one of my favorite looks is the actual Halloween. I don't have any kind of the standard garden. I really like the really, really dark Halloweens. They're almost completely black with a little bit of orange on the back. And then they kind of fade out to the cream color and but have a high contrast still. I really like that. So those two traits. Then we have tiger. Tiger is a dominant trait. So anything you breed a tiger to, you're going to get tiger plus anything, right? Oh yeah, some of those are my snakes too. Actually, most of those are. So that's funny. you can see different versions of tiger here. You can see there's calico tigers here, there's a leopard tiger here, there's a Halloween tiger here, there's a garden tiger here, there's a tricolor tiger here, there's an orange tiger here, there's a bicolor tiger here. So there's all different kinds of tigers, right? You can just breed tiger to anything, and 50-50 you should get tiger with everything. I love stripes, some people don't. To each their own. So I'll put stripes in everything, So we have those traits right there. Those are kind of the easy ones. Those are the ones that we know so far. Leopard is also another one. Leopard is very similar look to garden and Halloween if you don't know what you're looking for. Right now, we have not seen any colored variety of leopard. It's just gray and black or brown and black or brown and grayish dark color. It's all those kind of subtle kind of earthy tones. That right now we also know that it's a recessive trait and how it's inherited. So we know those for a fact, and so we're trying to use that knowledge to really, that's a leopard tiger from, I believe it might be Jacob's. That's mine, leopard tiger, liger.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the leopards are definitely neat. But has anybody been able to throw some color into them yet, or is that still not happened?
Stephen Ty Folk in the UK, I believe he produced one that was a leopard, but to me it looked like chimera because it was like split in the face. So I don't think it was a paradox. I don't know if it was a paradox or not, but half of it looked like a colored leopard, and then the other half looked like a standard leopard. Amazing snake. If you ever go on Instagram, I think it's Folk Reptiles or something like that. He's one of the best in the world. He has an amazing collection. But yeah, other than that, no. So a lot of people are making double hets right now. Just to try to see if there's anything. Cody Joe popped out some amazing snakes in like 23 or 22 or something like that.
Oh yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah. And so him and I were talking about those, and I was just like, dude, I need updates on those. Like, what pairing was this? Like I was just trying to get some information, but I don't think any of them made it, like maybe one or something like that. Like it wasn't.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, dude, it's always like the ones like I've produced an Amazon tree boa that looked like a calico that was so calico, it looked pied as a baby. It died. I produced some that looked like leucistic, but were more of like a peach color, and they died, and they live for like a little while, or they have a problem, and it's just like, it's always like those ones that kill over like that. So
yeah.
So going back to the genetics, like those are the ones that we know, like for sure. The next one is hypo, and hypo is the worst term for this morph, I think, but I actually don't have any hypo. I don't have any leucistic, so I don't really have any skin in the game here. I'm just observing and kind of seeing how they do these things.
And when you say hypo, do you mean like decreased melanin?
No. I wish I did. No. So hypo
what does it mean,
is, so what happened is the Gulf Coast Reptiles was the first one to have it. It looked very much like that, right? It was very yellow snake. And so he thought that was a hypo because if he bred 2 of those together, he produced a leucistic, which was an all-white snake. So he thought this was a hypo specimen, but later to come find out, after he produced the leucistic, he kept the ones that looked pure yellowback and sold the ones with pattern off. Later to come to find out, those ones with pattern also carried that gene, right? So that meant that this was not a reduced pigmented snake. This was probably more of like a line bred or specific color. So that was just what happened. Is we call them hypo. I hate that term. Right now, people are trying to find out if it's incomplete dominant or if it's recessive, right? Because you have to have 2 snakes that have 1 copy of that gene regardless. So either way, you have to have a het, right, on either side. The debate is when you reproduce them and you have a litter of babies, can you and anybody else select the hypos only from the non-hypos? And to me, if someone answers that and says, I do not know how to tell, then that to me means that it's a recessive trait. If they say I can select it because of these things that are different, then to me that sounds like incomplete dominant. But the problem is with the recessive stuff, or if it is incomplete dominant, they could be so subtle we just don't see it to our eye.
I was going to say, one of the biggest problems is you see it all the time. Like, how often do people say xanthic is recessive, right? And almost everywhere, xanthic is not recessive. Xanthic is incomplete dominant. Okay. So as far as I know. So, and a lot of people are like, well, it looks paler, but that's the het. And you're like, well, it's not het, right? If you see it paler, if you see different, like a difference with, if it's on one allele and you can see a difference, therefore it's incomplete dominant. If it's got 2 alleles, you see it differently. So I don't know. I feel like a lot of people often go with the reason that you're going, but if it's not subtle enough for you to tell, that doesn't mean it's recessive. It might just mean that there's not the incomplete dominant form when it's only on 1 allele might not be just enough of hypo or enough of decrease whatever pigment it is for you to tell it or tell it apart. But I don't know. I'm just saying that I feel like often.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. And that's why I've kind of like, hey, that's not really a project for me. I do like to observe and watch those guys and kind of see what they do. I know Dayton's working on that. I know Gulf Coast Reptiles is trying to get back into that project. Jacob Brooks is working really heavily on that project right now. Rory Gresko is working on that. And those guys can take that project. I've just seen some of the other species when you go white snake, like how much further can you go than that? And so for me, that wasn't something I was interested in. I like a lot more contrast to my snake. I would love to have an all white Amazon tree, but don't get me wrong. I just only have so much room. So I prefer a lot more contrast to my animals. If I go in there and look, and maybe eventually I'll spend the money and just buy a leucistic. But I don't want to wait around.
How many of, because I remember the chat you guys had at the round table a couple years ago now. The conversation was more around like there didn't seem like there was too many that had survived to adulthood that came out as leucistic. How is that kind of going now? Has stuff kind of been kind of
sounds like
ironed out a little bit?
Yeah, the ones Rory has adults. He's had adults for years. He's been raising some up. Dayton finally produced some that survived, and he's been raising those up for a few years now. Jacob Brooks has some. I think actually he only has hypos, so he may have the ability to produce them this year, I think he said.
And just so I can break it down, are leucistics like the double allele form of the hypo? Is that kind of what I'm understanding?
Yes. And the thing is with leucistic as well is it truly considered leucistic? Because there are some adult forms that look completely peppered. They almost look like gardens when they're adults, but like washed like a ghost.
maybe just the terminology is wrong. Like the fact that a leucistic, the fact that a hypo or a double hypo would be called a leucistic, everything in there makes no sense, right?
It does.
So the terminology is wrong, but what matters is that the hypo seems to be tied to the leucistic. So if you breed a leucistic to Amazon tree boa that has no hypo or nothing like that, will the entire clutch be hypo?
They should.
Has that pairing been done? I'm just curious because
if it is, actually, it has been done. I think Gulf Coast Reptiles did that. That's how they started understanding the genetics a little bit more. I think that's what Dayton is working on. Rory is a bit more secretive, so it's hard to get some information out of him until he's been doing it for a while. Then he'll kind of come out and tell everyone what's going on.
Because that would pretty much tell you it's incomplete dominant, like 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's
I mean, that would be good to know, but I don't think the guys working on it right now either have disclosed that information or have it yet. So I don't think I've seen that recently at all.
And just by curiosity, is there a reason why? Sorry, Mike, I keep talking over you, man.
No.
Sorry, is there a reason why people are not disclosing it? Is it just is it just that by not disclosing that information, they are able to breed more and keep those secrets and maybe, I don't know, be further in the game? Or I never quite understood why people don't share that kind of information.
Well, also too, you're not quite sure what's going on. So some people, it's a humility thing. They just don't want to start saying that they have something that they don't really know too much about. So they want to make sure that they're putting in the work to be able to identify those things. And I respect that, so that we're not kind of hyping things up before we understand. And then there's also kind of the, I don't want someone else to do it first situation. And then other people are just very introverted and they just would rather keep to themselves. And that's their prerogative.
Yeah. I think everybody has their own kind of way they prefer to do things, or not necessarily jinx themselves on a project long term. While maybe it's true, they don't want to. Like, you never know. You could always lose an animal and then it's gone.
There's about a couple handfuls of us here in the States that really try to share information with each other, so that and we understand this is science, right? Like, it's always going to change. That's why we're trying to learn this stuff. And when you understand, like, what results did you get from this? And now that Dom said that to me too, it's like, that makes total sense. I don't know why we haven't gone back and looked to see if a Lucy has been paired to a normal recently, because everyone is so focused on producing Lucys. So why would you want to go backwards? But in order to be able to prove that out, you have to. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, or maybe you could even find something else has those alleles as well, and you can almost like ball pythons. Like, obviously, it probably would have happened already, but like how you had Lessers and Mojaves and the other ones that produce white snakes, but variations of white snakes, like you're talking about, where some have pattern, right? Like some of those Lucy ball pythons, you shine a black light on them and you see pattern in there. Yeah. So maybe it's something like that, and maybe we get some other hypo looking like stuff out of Amazon. Where do Amazons like usually get exported out of, kind of thing? Do you know which countries?
Yeah, those are the only two places legally that you can get South American animals from. So whether they're caught there or not, nobody really knows. But everything comes from Suriname or Guyana.
So, okay. Interesting. Yeah, so that'd be the same as the emeralds, I'm guessing, too, right? Because the emeralds only come out of those two
ports.
Yeah.
So some of them are slower or closed down, over the other ones, but I don't think they have closed for quite some time. I haven't bought imports in a really long time. That's not my thing. I used to do that when I was younger, or getting back into the hobby, to kind of cherry pick to make sure that I have some wild blood in my stock, and then I would just sell off the ones that weren't kind of up to my standards with their phenotype.
And do the wildcats do well in captivity? Like, is it one of those
absolutely.
animals like any of them you get, majority of them will make it, no problem?
Yeah, they're very, very hardy snakes. Like I said, like, you know, I think when I used to get them from importers, like sometimes they would not even look at the snakes; they would just count heads and then ship them in the same bags that they came with. I've pulled ticks off them and seen worms and crazy stuff off them, but the snakes they turn around really well. They acclimate really well to captivity. Um, you know they take off tongs because they have kind of like a little defensive nature to them. So they're always kind of S back and ready to bite anyways. So they breed without doing much. Like I said, like just keep them together. Sometimes the importers would tell me that they just bred in the bags on the way over here, and the female could be gravid, or they dropped a litter of babies in the bags as they were transported. So like I've heard all kinds of stories from these importers. So they're pretty hardy, and most of the time I've gotten snakes, they were all fairly easy to establish. I have a vet. She's an equine vet, and so every time I need something, it's nice that she's kind of a traveling vet, and she likes that I'm into things that are a little bit unique, so she doesn't get to see some of this stuff often. So if I take a monitor lizard or a snake that's impacted, or needs a little oxytocin or something like that, then she's always down to help with that kind of stuff, which is a blessing. Um, so I just go for it and have a good time, and have a lot of resources out here, which is nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You want to go, Mike? That's definitely useful to have as a vet, right? Like, I know up here, especially reptile vets, are pretty hard to come by. I know Vancouver has, I don't know, there's a couple clinics that'll see reptiles that are not too bad, but
so the thing I've realized about vets is, like, you should really do your education yourself. Like, there's so many books out there that you can read and information about the medicine. Don't try to act like you're always smarter than the vet, but when you go and talk to the vet, you can share your knowledge on the species, because maybe they understand medicine and dosages, right? And how they're supposed to be administered and for what different things, but you understand the animal a little bit better than they do. So together you guys can come up with it. So even dog and cat vets, most of the medications that we give these animals are for dogs and cats or horses or something like that. Like, they're not made for reptiles. They've kind of just learned how to tweak things, or by accident they realize that you can't give certain things. Like, you cannot give a turtle ivermectin. Like, there's things that we've learned, and we can all work with each other. And the vet that I have is nice because she'll actually take following education on reptiles just because of me, which is really nice. But she likes that, and I'll just pay her to come over and look at my whole collection. And she wants me to deworm my snakes once or twice a year. Kind of, she has that herd mentality a little bit. Like, she's used to animals that do put their nose down to the ground all the time. So I do take her advice, and we talk back and forth, and we try to come to conclusions. I don't really like to medicate my snakes just for no reason. So, unless I'm seeing things or, have a problem, then we kind of put our heads together and we come up with a solution together. It is really difficult when you come to a vet and they're very pompous, and that they don't know what they're talking about when it comes to the species, but they obviously know what they're talking about when it comes to the medicine. That's the problem. And but if you find that vet that has a little bit of humility, that's willing to listen, keep them, pay them whatever they need.
Yeah, for sure.
It's interesting hearing you talk about the herd mentality. That's really you can tell it's a farm animal vet, right? Because a lot of them just treat you treat all the sheeps the same way, and this way, if they're all good, they're all good. Can you imagine doing that on all your reptiles? To me, it's just it's interesting though.
And the main issue would be the fact that we still probably don't fully understand the effects of a lot of these medications on on the reptiles, right? Like
It's
actually
so
knowing
hard
like the
on their
long-term
yeah.
dosages and
I think
in 5
if you
years its kidneys are going to die.
yes, if you've kept snakes long term, you know that like medication and dehydration will lead to kidney and liver problems. Like kidney failure is super prevalent in the hobby, you know, and then like fatty liver from like overfeeding rodents and stuff. It's like those two things right there, like those we have all, if we've been in the hobby long enough, we've had animals die from those things, right? Either we've learned that we can't overfeed, or we've learned that, you know, we didn't hydrate the animal enough, right? Sometimes some animals don't seek water in a bowl as often as others, or whatever the situation is. You know, they have parasites and they're just kind of, you know, secluded and they don't really go anywhere. There's a lot of different things. So it's nice to have a backup plan and just go from there.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you keep most of your stuff in? Are you doing PVC cages? Are you doing big PVC cages? Kind of what's your kind of setup there in the room?
Everything that I keep is in some kind of like PVC or acrylic or something like that. I do have glass cages. They're just usually not meant for like my snakes. Like my kids have, you know, their own pets and stuff like that, so they'll have exoterials and stuff. But all my cages, they're all PVC. I do have some bullfile cages. I have some herptastic cages. I have some AP cages. I have some bars cages. I have some big sky reptile cages. I have some, the guy, Jeff Poff, that just started kingsnake.com. He makes me cages now. In fact, hopefully I should be getting some here soon in the beginning of summer here for my new room from him too. So I like PVC. I prefer glass fronts for sliding, but obviously if the enclosure is too small, sliding is not going to work and you have to do a swing door. I just always found that swing doors, when they're made out of like plexi or acrylic or Lexan or whatever, like they're going to kind of potato chip a little bit. Just because of the humidity and temperature differences within the cage and out. Some of it not as much. Some of them you can put them in a frame, or I think it's the Lexan. They don't flex as much as long as it's thicker. And they all work. You know, you just push the corner in a little bit more and turn the tab. But I really like the glass fronts. If it's like a 4x2x2, that works just fine. I love those. Most of my cages, I do have standard tubs for babies, you know, 6 quart, and then I bump them straight up to a 15 quart. And then I do have display cages that are like condo cages that are PVCs. Like they're like maybe a little shy of a 4-foot enclosure, but they're divided into 4 or 3 sections. And then I'll have some, you know, I'll move some of my snakes from the 6 quart to there, or from the 6 quart to the 15 quarts. And then from there, they'll go to, you know, that next size up in the cage, 16 by 18, something like that, by 24 tall. And then I have different ones of those that were custom made for me. I do like the breeder AP cages that I have. They're 3x2x2s. So like my big Amazon tree boa females, I usually have them in there. And then I can bring a male into that cage. They have light shrouds in there, so I like to use just a small wattage light bulb for the heat source on a timer, pretty much. Just like I'll just throw a 20 or 30 watt heat bulb in there, just turn it on for, you know, 6 hours a day, maybe 4 hours a day, just depending on what the temperature is. Just to let them. Some of these cages, like I don't even really use a thermostat, just because I kind of just know, like, even if it gets to 94 degrees over here in this corner, it's still 86 during the day, and then it cools down. The whole room is like 77. So like, and if that's the hottest the cage is going to get, I'm okay with that, you know? So I don't really, I just kind of play with stuff and I use my temp gun for a while until I get it figured out. And then I can just kind of play with it until it all works out. But 3x2x2s are my preferred cage for breeding. I do have a lot of cubes, the 2x2x2s.
3x2x2s horizontal or vertical?
Horizontal.
Why do you find that's better? I'm just
because
curious.
because the Amazon tree boas, they like to stretch out. So when they're stretching out, they actually do utilize a lot of that room horizontally and side to side. They do like to go up and down, but when they're actually just relaxing, right? They like to drape. They don't really. They will coil like a green tree python or emerald will, but they really do appreciate like draping over multiple points of contact.
That's what I was going to ask, if they're more one of those animals that like just perch over like 7 or 8 different points on branches, or if they like to be just on one big branch all coiled on it.
Yep. No, they like multiple branches, big branches, small branches. That's why you can really like make the cages look really nice. You know, you can just put a whole bunch. Like me, I love to get like we have oak trees or alder trees, and we'll just get big branches. Or I like ghost wood. That's kind of my preferred wood in my cages, is get ghost wood, and then just put tons of like pothos or rhododendrons in there, and just let them go. You know, not rhododendrons. What are the other ivy one?
Oh,
flower.
Is it hibiscus? No.
Yeah, talking to the wrong guy here. I like plants, but
I'm good at killing them. No, not rhododendron. That's a flower. I was thinking of, it's the other. It's not pothos. It's the other ivy. But I use
pothos is the one that grows anywhere in anything and just keeps spreading. That one's the obvious.
Yeah, the other one I almost feel like grows better. I like it. It's better shaped leaf and stuff. Heart shaped rhododendron. I think it is a rhododendron. Yeah. Something like that. I don't know. Whatever.
when we're not plant guys.
I do appreciate plants. I have a lot on my property. It's just not like a passion for me. It's just you know. So
yeah, for sure.
Different Japanese maples and stuff, but I couldn't tell you what the name of them are. You know.
So the your breeder adults. And I don't know if you're like us, like I never weigh my snake, but just by curiosity, what's their length and their weight? Because they're Amazons tend to be a pretty long but very slender snake, right? Like it balls up at a tiny little thing, but when it stretches out, you're like, oh my god, that thing's big.
Yeah, I mean, I keep my animals fairly small. My females, they're going to be, I think my biggest female is probably like a little over 5 feet if you stretch her out, maybe close to 6. But they're fairly lean, like I think like that big around, my biggest female, like when she's gravid, like that's about what she's looking like. But for the most time, my males, they're going to be smaller. Like I want them thinner. I keep them kind of between that like 4.5, 5 foot range. And I just kind of slow their food intake down and just make sure that they have a nice healthy body weight. And then I feed them a little bit more before I know I'm going to breed them. But I don't know about weight because I don't weigh any of my arboreal snakes. So I couldn't really tell you the weight on them. I used to weigh green tree pythons like when I was reading like Greg Maxwell's books and stuff, but no, maybe 650 grams, something like that.
That seems pretty healthy compared to, didn't Greg's book say to get the chondros to
1,200 grams or
1,200 grams,
something like that?
Yeah. I mean, I did have green tree pythons back in the day. They were huge, but they don't need to. These animals don't need to be huge like that. But there's a fine line too. We don't want to like underdo it too, So I just try to keep a healthy balance and realize like, oh no, I forgot to feed my animals 3 weeks, and then I'll hit them maybe 2 weeks back to back, and then I'll forget again for 2 weeks. But by doing that, you create this inconsistency that's actually healthy for them, So for me, it's like people are like, how do you do it? How do you have all this stuff going on and you can take care of all these animals? Like, it's like, well, they work well with me because they actually like a little like benign neglect, like they actually thrive on that. Like if I don't go in there for a couple days, they're really happy probably, So as long as they don't shit in their water bowls, like they're good, and I just go in there and just do a kind of a visual every single day, make sure everything's good, and service on usually Sundays and Wednesdays usually, but this week it'll be a Thursday. So
you're very similar to me. I just feed whenever I feel like it or when I have time. And when it's been a long time, I'm like, shit, I haven't fed in like 3-4 weeks. I really need to find time. And then it might take me another week to find time to do it, right?
Same.
I think it has a huge advantage. Cleaning, I lay eyes on every snake every morning, every night, twice a day. If there's anything like poop in the water bowl, I'll change it on the spot. If not, it's waiting until my next full clean day.
I just want to make sure they have fresh water. If there's a little urate or something and it's, tomorrow's my cleaning day. If I can grab it, sure. But if I don't need to go into that cage, it'll probably wait till tomorrow. And I'm just not, I learned when I first started with green tree python I was extremely anal just because that's how that community is. When I started getting the Chilobothris, you learn, doesn't matter how much you clean, they want it shitty all the time. And so they're going to you clean the cage, you wipe everything down, and you go in there the next day after you clean it, and they're smearing their, urates all over the place. Does Strigulatus have the very like thick musk too? It's very like viscous.
Honestly, I haven't been musked by any of mine. Even when I got that baby, like
really,
I haven't had any musk. Like they're great. Like to me, it's like, why are people complaining about these things? They're not that bad. Like they'll leave some urates around their stuff, and I'll leave the urates, but I'll clean out the hard poop.
Yeah,
but I haven't really. I guess I'll see it with the babies if I get babies how those are, but. I'm sure that there'll be a little bit of musk kind of thing, but I haven't really, even with that juvenile and the other males, nothing.
They can grow out of it too. The more you kind of habituate them, just like the more you're handling them, they just know that like that's not going to do anything by musking on you or biting you or whatever. But most of the time as babies, mine at least, the striatus, they were not very bitey at all. Like they didn't even want to open their mouths, but they would pee on me, and it was very like. It was almost just a little thinner than like egg whites, It was very like goopy. And it just had
when I see the urate, it is kind of like that, right? Like it's that really jelly. Liquidy. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I'm wondering if they actually do musk, if it's like that, because it's just a different. I've never seen it from any other genus that like thick musk like that. And it has a very unique smell, maybe similar to some colubrids, but not nice. So they're more of like I just like to watch them. As they get older, they're less likely to musk, I've noticed, or the more you handle them.
Yeah. Actually, last year I found out that pine snakes will musk because a couple of the baby Kentucky pines I hatched out decided to hate me and musk on me, which I've never had a pine do before. After hatching a couple other clutches of them and raising some up, nothing, and then you get the one baby
that's funny.
No, it's hilarious. I know I got black milks this year. Those are usually fantastic, but they won't bite you, but they might musk you as babies. But
they start off bicolor too, right? Like red and black.
Yeah, actually, tricolor. Yeah, they'll be tricolor. Yep.
So okay, red, black, and white, or
yeah, it's like a white. Obviously, like it fades fairly quickly, kind of thing. But anywhere from that kind of 12 to 24 months, they takes them to get that almost full black. Depending on the light and depending on the individual, you might see just a faint little bit of bands. But by the time they're 3, they're pretty much black.
Yeah, my son was interested in getting one of those for a while, so he was kind of telling me about them. They're pretty interesting snakes.
They're awesome. And room temperature, right? You just keep it, honestly, like if your room's anywhere in the 70s, they're fine. If you give them a hot spot of 78, they'll sit on the side that's 72, even with food in them. Like they don't love heat, but they're active all the time. You can go in and grab them anytime you want, and you don't have to. They do have a good food response though. But other than that, you can pick them
fairly large too, right?
Yeah, my male's probably 5.5 foot. You can get them up to 6 feet, or even a touch more if you really want to feed them. But they'll be like a 5.5 foot animal kind of thing. Females
start slowing them down.
Yeah. It takes them a while though. Like they don't really mature until they're about 5.
Yeah,
4 or
Just
5.
snowboarders.
Yeah.
Mhm. That's unique for a colubrid, though, right? I mean, usually a colubrid wants to stuff themselves to get as big as possible, as fast as possible.
Yeah, they do eat well, but I think maybe it's the montane part of their kind of existence that might have something to do with it, because it is interesting, right?
Are they large babies, neonates?
Yeah, like comparatively to other milk snakes, they're definitely a bit bigger. Like they're probably one of those that'll easily take pinkies when they hatch, and like within not too long, you probably get them on the fuzzies kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I guess I'll see, because I should have eggs here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, Dom, you need black milks. You'll love them.
There's so many snakes that I would love to try. My big issue is that I only have so much space, and if there's something I love more, they're moving out. As babies, I can keep a lot of babies, but then I grow them up when they hit a year and they need like that out of the 6 quart into like a small cage. Well, I only have so many of those. And if there's something I prefer, and I prefer everything better than a colubrid, so they'll always be kicked out. So it's kind of one of those things where, I don't know, like some of the what is it, the gray bands, I think, like I find locality gray bands to be pretty cool. I would consider keeping 2.
Or the variable kings are cool too.
Yeah.
No?
You lost me.
I like the milk snake phase one.
But like the black milks are cool. Just like Mexican black king snakes, they're cool. Are they cool enough for me to keep? I'm not sure.
Sure.
I'm not sure.
Black milks are cooler than Mexican blacks, that's for sure.
I'm just saying they're both nice, and like I love indigos. I keep an indigo before, but the problem with an indigo is it gets so big. Now it wouldn't even it'd be like, well, am I willing to sacrifice a full size cage when I could have like a black-headed python in there? You know, like hands down, the indigo would leave for me anyway. So I don't know. I struggle with a lot of those things, right? So it's like if I had a basin or an Amazon tree boa, I guarantee I would give it an adult cage. Something else would move out. So it's got to be a snake that I have enough passion for it to kick out the other things that I like. So I've kind of learned my niche, and boas and colubrids tend to not stay in my house. Not that I don't like them. I just don't like them over my other little niche things. And I keep trying different species, but I know my niche, like Indonesian / Australian pythons that are semi-arboreal to arboreal. There's only a few that have lasted that are not like that, like a few of the liasis that aren't really arboreal. Woma pythons, and I'm telling you, Woma pythons, I don't think I'd ever have more than 2.
Yeah, like, white lips?
No, but they are number 2 on my list of to get. So my number 1 are green trees, locality green trees, white lips, savus. I'm trying to think of what else would go under that.
Yeah, I have
probably blackheads.
I have just a love-hate relationship with northerns. I love northern white lip pythons. I've had 2 or 3 pairs now. Every time Ryan produces some, I want to get them, raise them up, and they're gorgeous, but man, they're just assholes. And I'm like, if I have to go in this cage and get bit every single time, I'd rather put something in here that's red and pretty and doesn't bite me every single freaking time. Because Amazons they'll bluff more than anything. A white lip can just look at you from the other end of the cage and launch its entire body out of the cage at you. Like, it gets annoying after a while. Not all of them are like that. You know, some of them I had are very tractable, but
Tyrone has a pair right now that's like really tractable that he got. I think it came from somebody out east that got him from the US. They're like 5 feet right now, and you can go pull them out, and they're cool. Fine. But then he has like a massive southern that he just keeps as a pet that somebody gave him, basically. And that thing just like eyes you up. And the head on that, the guy is like that big. Huh? It's a large black white lip.
8 feet. Those southerns, they can get big.
Yeah, it's up there.
I find if you have like
go in there
2 or 3 snakes in your old collection that just light you up for anything, they're fun as long as you don't have too many of them, right? So like I have, I'd say 95% of my collection I can I can handle it. I can pull them out and put them in a bin without getting bitten. Some will hiss. And then there's always those 3 or 4 that are just like complete a-holes no matter what you do. Like
They're the pretty
just,
ones, though, aren't they?
It's
always the pretty ones. Some of my prettiest snakes are like the couple little assholes that I have, and I'm like, okay, I don't need more assholes unless they look like you. So.
Exactly. Well, it's because you tolerate it because they're so pretty, right?
Yes, exactly.
But that's why, like, to me, white lips, I'd be okay with it. But I also wouldn't have an army of 10 white lips that light me up all the time because that would be way too much. But I'd love to have a trio or a pair or of each, right? And so they're very high up on the list. The question is whether I'm going to go down the wild caught route or the captive bred. And I haven't quite decided that, but they're definitely coming in the collection.
Well, there's probably going to be some captive bred Southerns available soon.
Yeah, but the problem is the price. The captive bred price I think is insane. It's
Ryan's pretty reasonable with his prices.
We can't buy on your like whatever goes on in the States.
But you're gonna have to pay for CITES.
Yeah, I was gonna say with white lips you should be able to.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
CITES should be super easy to get.
Yeah,
that's very true. Very true.
Depends how long U.S. Fish and Wildlife decides to approve it.
Well, isn't it like there's a couple companies now that do that, right? You just go to them and they do all the paperwork and everything. And they
but Ryan would have to supply them with some proof kind of thing that they are.
I would do it myself.
Maybe it's easier because they're commonly done, but I tried to get Bahamas up and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife didn't love the information or whatever, even though they had like, hey, these animals like were bred by this person, here's the adults, and it wasn't good enough kind of thing.
Well, you're getting them all from Murray, so he has a lot of documentation.
I was trying to get them from Steve, who had gotten them from Jeff, maybe, or he got them from Brian Potts, who had the paperwork on them and stuff, but still wasn't good enough apparently. So even though they're animals that produce take 10, 15 years sometimes to produce, or
the Chinabothra's a little bit sketchy too. I had a couple of guys from Dubai who wanted to get a lot of my animals, but we couldn't figure out, from Tom Crutchfield how to source some documents for the Chinabothras, because who knows if there ever was. But they'll question all of that stuff,
But we were able to get Cody Joe and his partner, or business partner guy, was able to get the Chinabothras from Jeff, and actually in 2 shipments, because they got the 6 Bahamas up legally. Like there's CITES paperwork with it, kind of thing. It's on Jeff's website, and then there's, and then they also bring up Dominicans at some point, and somebody's brought up Dominicans quite a few times. Like Dominicans are regularly they're like the most common one that you see on the CITES records. So it's kind of weird that but then it's U.S. Fish and Wildlife, right? Like we like Dom's able to ship stuff to Japan, no issues. There are CITES people approve it pretty easily, kind of thing. But depends who you get, right?
You just have to. Sorry.
What are white lips going for up there?
So I don't know the price of captive bred, because there's, as far as I know, 1 or so people that breeds them here. I mean, Michael Islam has gotten another clutch. Right?
Oh yeah,
has Cody bred them recently?
Well, two then. Cody bred them last year.
2 years, I think, right?
I think they might be the only 2 that have success. I don't know. I'm gonna guess. Tell me if I'm wrong. They're probably going for what, 1,500 ish.
Cody's.
What did he?
I think they were Northerns, went for 12 each,
and then
which wasn't that bad. I don't think
the Southerns prior, right?
And then I think he has Southerns, but I'm not sure if he's bred them. But then I know Mickey bred them, and I'm guessing he's actually I don't even want to guess how much he's asking. But
with Mickey, I've never asked him because I know I won't be able to afford him.
Understood, yeah.
But wild caught, like if I bought it off the list, and we've all seen the list,
650, even
way.
I know they're probably lower, but like from a retail shop, wild caught.
Okay,
650 to 850, and probably blacks are more.
Okay, so like that, if I ordered them from the list directly from the importer, I would be paying $125 for the cheap ones are the Southerns, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe
the northerns,
250 to 260 for the northern, but then you'd be paying probably about 25% over that for shipping, for the
That's
costs
still
and
cheap.
little things like that. It's
But
they're
that's
relative.
Yeah, that's like the list that I used to see back in the day in like the like 2010, 2011, like those were the prices even for green tree pythons back then. I can get like BX for like 125, and then everything else is like 150, 175, 225 at the most.
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
BIAC on that list right now is about 225. And again, it's
Yeah.
Canadian dollars, so remove 35, 40% for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So they're relatively cheap, but that list has a price that then you need to pay for the import fees that is shared amongst everybody that
Yeah.
does it, right? Or shipping.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as I said, add 25 to 30% on that price, and it kind of gives you an idea of the actual cost. But it's, I don't know, I from what I can tell, most people that import white lips seem to have some pretty good luck with them. It just takes a long time to get them established and a long
Yeah.
time to get them breeding. So you could keep your imports for 6-7 years before you get success, but I don't know if you're that much quicker with captive bred. It's still an easily a 4 or 5 years before they're ready, right?
Sure. It sounds like
So-
a waiting game regardless. Just get them when they're young so they establish in your
Exactly.
collection.
So-
Mhm.
But they're on my list. I just haven't decided what I'm going to get, but I'd say they're
Well, you
They're
got, you
there.
got the rings. You got the rings to
love-
play with for now.
Rings are cool too. Yeah, I just love the northerns. Just that gold with the white, black head with the white face is like, oh man, that's cool.
Oh yeah.
I got a
Rings
pair
are
of
cool.
rings from Michael there. So they're nice, but see, like rings were like number 7 or 8 on my list. But somehow I made a deal with Michael, and I mean, they cost me nothing. I just had to ship a couple of snakes for them. So it's hard to say no because they are on the list, but I don't think I would ever get more than a pair of rings. They're
Sure.
cool. They're cool, but they're not really arboreal. They're almost more fossorial than
Yes,
anything,
that's
right?
what I've
So
heard too. And
like
are they
I barely see them.
little bit nippy?
They're twitchy.
Twitchy?
But they eat well because
Very
of
twitchy.
it. They eat very well.
way people describe them, it's just I like the way they look, especially when they're young. I don't think it's a species for me for what I want in my room because I only have so much room, like you're saying. You got to have to be picky and choosy.
Yeah, but I have the advantage that I got him half with I guess Shan, which is kind of like my business partner, if you want to call it like that. So often when I'll decide that I want to move him, but I still want my fingers in that pot, I just
Yeah.
move him to him, and we can kind of keep going. Just like we have scrub pythons, and
I do the
I
same thing
technically
with
own
Arboreals.
half, but I've never taken care of him whatsoever. But the day he breeds them, I'm going to say, yeah, I bred him too. I mean,
Yeah,
half of
exactly.
the snakes are mine, even though I've literally never done anything. He was telling me the scrubs were finally locked up, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. I got locks on my scrubs, but
There you go.
they've
yeah.
literally never lived here. I've
Put my
never
name on
fed
that
them.
too.
I've basically touched them once or twice, and that's it, right? So, yeah, but there's certain species like that they're cool, but it's like womas. I would never have more than one pair. Blackheads, I'd probably only have one pair, but only because I can't afford more than one pair. But like, there's different species. Like if I had, I don't know, diamonds, I'd probably have 10 pairs if I could afford them. Like there's certain ones that you just know you're just
You
so
love them.
much more attracted to, right? Like for some reason, Amazon's was really big on you and you just kept getting more and more, right? There's certain, like carpets for me used to be my entire collection. I'd say carpets now is about 50% of my collection. And as I go, I'm slowly thinning out carpets and adding a little bit more Morelia / Indo-Australian arboreal pythons. Somehow the rings got in there, but the rings aren't even. I think I got the rings because Shan kept talking about how he loves them and he wanted them. So I was like, I guess I can get them. I'll get them.
Yeah, I mean, they fit within that little niche too.
Somewhat, but they're not arboreal, right? They're like the opposite. And like,
Yeah. There's,
So
but that's what a white lip's going to be like too, right? Kind of. But probably a
white
little
lips
different.
are white lips are semi-arboreal.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll find out. You'll be the judge when he gets some white lips.
Yeah. The white lips that I had perching for them, and they would climb often. So
Yeah, no,
they
it'd be
were all over the place.
Yeah, those would be. Yeah, actually, yeah. Yeah, seeing Ty's big black white lip out, it's definitely perched on stuff.
Go up, yeah. They may not like perch like a green tree python, but if you have like a big cork tube or something, it'll go up and like kind of curl up on the top of that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what my Chilobothras do. Like, I got some logs in there, and she'll sit right underneath the heat panel, like coiled like a green tree sometimes,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like and obviously other times she's just kind of hunkered down in the hide underneath the heat, or right beside the hide, still under the heat, kind of thing. But yeah, no, it's cool when you see those snakes that are like, they're kind of arboreal-ish, but then when they're actually doing it, it's like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love arboreal snakes. So I'm right there with you, Dom. Like, I completely understand. Just to go in a room, stressful day, turn on the light, and just see all your snakes out, just gorgeous. Just, it's just, there's nothing like that. There's nothing worse than someone that's like, oh, I heard you have snakes. Can I see? So you take them into your room, and literally you're just showing them dirt or a puppy pad or paper towels or whatever you use, and it's just like, yeah, it's under here somewhere. You got to like dig in there. It's so much more impressive when you open the door and they're just like, what is this?
That being said, most of my animals are nocturnal, right? So if you show them anytime during the day, they're all in a hide box or in a corner, like in a perch, completely the corner. So you still, like, the room is dead during the day. There's nothing moving, right? So there might be like one head that pokes out of the top hide or something, just looking because they saw you moving, and then it goes back in, right? So at nighttime, like, after we finish this show, now it's been dark for like 2-3 hours now, right? It's going to be gorgeous, guaranteed. Yep. But during the day, you show anybody your collection, it's just like they actually do something just at night.
Yeah, no, and I mean, most of the action, most of the time I'm like hanging out or doing anything is always in the evening anyway. So very rarely do people even come over to my house during the day, unless it's my office, it's at the shop. But yeah, no, I completely agree. Going in there at nighttime when everyone's on the move is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's always that's why I try to have a room that has a bit of everything. You go in and the pine snakes are out cruising, or the subocs that are supposed to be nocturnal. Usually, as soon as you walk in the room, they kind of start cruising around again, kind of thing. Black milk, it could be out any time of day. Doesn't really matter, night or day. It could be cruising, it could be hiding. You don't know.
Yeah. Michael's collection's a little bit different, though. It's what's the name? Is it Moses that made Noah's Ark?
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. I mean, Michael, Moses, kind of a synonym.
That's funny.
Sorry, what was that?
I used to call that Noah's Ark syndrome.
Yeah. Oh, it's 100%.
Oh yeah, because I got Ty's blue tongues downstairs now. I got a pair of Herman's tortoises. I got a ton of yellow spotted.
Oh, my son used
to
have Herman's. Those are pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to diversify what I'm breeding. So yeah, maybe
I give you like
a long time.
Pardon me?
Have you been keeping for a long time, Michael?
Yeah, like I still have my pair of Kenyans that I got when I was 10. So I got those in 2011, kind of thing.
Okay.
So I've been keeping, and then obviously like end of high school, I got back in, like back into the reptile thing.
Yeah, it's not as cool in high school.
Yeah. Well, it kind of got cool in grade 12.
Stuff,
Yeah, exactly. then I found NPR in grade 12 and kind of never stopped. Yeah, it hasn't stopped since.
I think I found NPR around that, like I think they started 2011, right? And I think I started listening to them around between 2012 and 2014, something like that. I really started listening to them. I didn't even know what a podcast was,
Yeah. I remember hearing them. You hear them and you're like, one day, man. I
thought it was just
imagine
like
being on there.
I didn't know what it was, It's like, I don't want to go type with other people. Like I'll just keep to myself, And then I started listening. I'm like, oh, okay, it's like a radio kind of talk show. Okay. So no, and then I just got obsessed and I wanted to hear everything, and I became like a podcast junkie, and I was just like listening to everyone's podcast all the time. And then I just got so busy that I just wouldn't have time to like do that anymore. So I just try to listen here and there if I see like someone that pops on, like doesn't matter what show it is or who's doing it. If it's someone I want to hear and kind of learn from them, then it's cool to kind of go back. And I mean, you can probably type most people's names into YouTube and find a video on, at least the more mainstream or bigger guys, and kind of learn a lot from them just by doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why when people say that they don't know stuff, it's kind of, or like they can't find the information.
It's at their
Like,
fingertips. Mm-hmm.
exactly. You just have to kind of, I get it being tough because like I know I've listened to quite a few NPRs
Mm-hmm.
and every other podcast out there at this point. Definitely not all of them, but like there's a lot of
There's a
information
lot
out
now,
there.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you can listen to Nick Button 10 years ago or Ryan Young 10 years ago or
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Murray, right?
Yep.
And there's some real gems out there that the guys have only done one or two podcasts that turned out to be really good and they just haven't come back on.
Back in the day, Jeff Godbold with his Corrales Radio, Jeff Murray was on that. And that's how I learned about him back in the day. So like they get people on too that maybe you haven't heard about, and then you're just like, oh wow, I didn't know he was literally interested in all the species that I like, or I'm interested now in those species because I never heard about them before. So it kind of sparks those interests, and you start doing your research. And I think that's where a lot of us get addicted to, is not just the animals themselves, but learning about everything that's involved with them, whether that be, the natural history, geography, biology, like there's so many different little niches that you can go down. And it's kind of fun to just go down those rabbit holes and learn about all those little things. And then when you kind of start running out of stuff that like, hits that dopamine response, then you learn about this one and you start going down this rabbit hole, and you just, by the time you look back, you know hundreds of species that you've dove into, and then you really know so much about, and that passion teaches. You can learn so much with just passion. It just drives you. You can go to a college, but if you're not passionate about what you're interested in, you may not retain that information. But the other person who didn't go to college, who is so passionate about the same subject, is probably a complete expert because they're so into whatever it is that they want to learn about. And I really enjoy just learning about stuff, and I try to stay humble about stuff. So if someone's like, hey, I don't think, I have a different opinion, I want to know, I want to listen, I want to, some of those things could apply to me. Maybe they don't, but I still take it with a grain of salt. Like, okay, well, it's something that I now never heard. I'm going to take that. I'm going to keep all this information. And if something pops up, I can kind of dig into my little bag of tricks and see if maybe something that I heard or learned from someone else may work.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's how a lot of us kind of go by, right? You go by kind of those basic things of just, yeah, like just keeping.
It's fun. It's fun to keep, and I say Noah's Ark syndrome only because I think a lot of us go through that. We kind of have to go through that. I definitely did. You get onesies and twosies of everything.
I did too, man.
And yeah, you just have this like super diverse collection. And then you start to like look at it and you're like, okay, this is a lot of work. What do I really love? Right. And then you start to kind of dial it back. And then you may grow again, and it may dial back. And you kind of ebbs and flows until you kind of filter and go through this. Okay, these are the species I like. I'm going to stick here. Occasionally I'll veer off a little bit because I'm a little ADHD or whatever, but I know that I can kind of reel myself back in because these are my core, And I think once we get to that point, then you can truly start to, when you have a few species versus 20 species, you can really learn more about those species, I think, because you have so many more samples. You have such a large sample size. When you have a lot of species, you typically have less of each species. So it's just something cool that I like. And it's, I can move and match different snakes over here and there because they're all the same species, just completely different colors and patterns. So I like just having, right now at my house, I just have the Dominicans and the Amazons. Maybe downsizing some Dominicans here soon too, just because I really want to focus on the Amazons. It's really something that I like lose sleep over, just thinking about the different possibilities that are out there. People don't realize, like, I remember in the beginning stages of ball pythons, the curiosity people had with, hey, did you look at this little checker belly? There's little yellow spots here, and there's these little black markers here. And they're really like, really? Like, what do you see in this? Right. And then like you fast forward to, 10 years, 15 years later, and you're just like, holy shit, like this really did come into fruition. I had never would have thought. So it's like, I don't want to poo-poo that when it's just a pattern repeating itself. So I'm going to be at the forefront of learning these things in the Amazon tree boas so that later on, I mean, we're going to figure this stuff out, like there are some polygenic stuff to the snakes, but I think a lot of times people use that as a cop out because they just don't know. And they just say it's all polygenic. I don't know, And so I think the more we work with them, the more we're going to realize that some of this stuff actually does work and makes sense. And there is a rhyme and rhythm to it. We just didn't understand it. 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, whatever it takes, we're starting to learn. And maybe now that like we have an AI starting to get involved, like we may even be able to learn some of this information even quicker. No matter, we just don't understand how that's going to be implemented yet. But I do think that we're going to start learning things a lot faster than we ever have.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, I was going to ask a quick question regarding boa breeding. I just wanted to know what's your train of thoughts when you pair up your males with your females. Number one, are you only pairing up when you know she's about to go, or are you putting them in there all the time, same male with the same female for 6 months until you eventually hit it? And I'm asking that because I've been hearing multiple times now that boas only have so much sperm and it takes them a long time to build it. So I'm kind of curious to see what your train of thought is and if you feel like that's also something that's going on with Amazons.
I do agree with that statement because I have noticed that if I try to do a sire to two different females, that sometimes the litter may not be as large, or I may get some more slugs in those litters. Maybe it's just a coincidence that happened. I don't know. But I typically try to pair up one male with one female. And I could be a bit stubborn. So if I'm just like, hey, I really want this pair to go, if I put them up early, right? Let's say I put them together in January, they may be together through July, right? They may be all together, just separate them to feed sometimes, maybe not, depending on how they're acting and what I'm willing to do. Sometimes I just keep them together forever until I see something. I try to like force it, right? I have been known to just keep them in there and then I just go through the cycle again, how I do my room and wait till next year and see what happens there. So I really want to make sure it's like, I have this one snake. It's like really extreme calico named Freak Show. And he came from Roy Gresco. And I really want to breed him to a calico tiger female that also has a very extreme calico phenotype that came from Keith McPeak, but was produced by John Martin. So I have these animals together for a long time. And I don't want to mix and match. I want to know who the sire and the dam is. That's important for me to know. And I think that it's harder to move. Some like Roy Gresco says that he knows very specifically how his females act. He, will see the signs, move the male in. Male's only in there for a short time. Then he moves the male out, feeds, and then moves him into another female. I'm just not that good, right? So I'm just going to kind of watch. And if I don't see the signs, then I just kind of leave them in there. But sometimes I will see the signs maybe in a different time of year, maybe like in the fall. So it's like, are they cycling again? Like what's going on here? Did they not cycle? Is this a late cycle? Is it an early cycle? And so if I do see weird signs like that, I may take the initiative to just say, it's October, but I'm just going to pair them up to see what happens because this looks weird to me. So I will do stuff like that here and there. But most of the time it's like I'm going to pair them up. I always get through the holidays and stuff. And then I kind of start thinking about what I'm going to start putting together. May do some preliminary pairings just to make sure I do have the correct sex together, if they're newer and I'm probing them and they're tweeners or anything like that, just to verify everything and decide, well, that's not a girl, that's a boy. So I got to fix this pairing for the season anyways. And it's usually earlier that if that's any of that stuff happens. So by like March, I really have it kind of like figured out what I'm going to pair up and who I'm going to pair with whom. I just have a good time and I just let them do their thing and we'll see what happens. I have, I think I have 4 or 5 pairs right now. And then I might have another green tree python clutch at my buddy's house. I think we're going to pair that female up again it is June, end of June, beginning of July. I think that's when she was locking last year. And those babies are already established. So I'll get some babies sent over to me. I'll just have like one wall full of green tree pythons. The rest will be Amazons. That's kind of how I want to see it. And then I think I'm kind of at the point where I might move on some of my Dominicans just because I do like them. I enjoy them. But like you said about the, looking in and seeing them, sometimes they are pretty hidden. Other times they're out, often. And they're pretty bold when they're adults. Like they don't really care if you see them or not. Like some terrestrial species don't want you to see them. They don't really care. They don't give a shit. But they're messy and they take larger meals and they go to the bathroom more. And it's just like, okay, I was trying to challenge myself to see if I could breed these, if I could get the babies going. I've done that 4 times now. Do I want to do it more? Is it something I really enjoy? Is it something I think the hobby needs more of? Because Nick's always kind of put that in my ear. Like, if you're good at breeding and you breed these common species, you should have at least like 1 or 2 extra like exotic species that the hobby doesn't typically see, just to kind of keep that in the hobby, right? He thinks it's like our duty to kind of like pick a species that a lot of people don't work with. Like if you're good at breeding these like ball pythons and carpet pythons and Amazon tree boas or whatever, like fairly easier species to breed, then maybe have, blackhead, or maybe have, some cool Jansenii or, tiger rat snakes or something that like you don't see as much of in the hobby, just to make sure that like that stuff is still getting reproduced too. Because in 10 years, who knows what the hobby is going to look like. And we don't want it to be just like ball pythons and crested geckos,
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I kind of, I think Dom does the same with his collection. I know I try to do with mine where like I finally got another pair of sandboas because I had my one pair and I never held any back, which I probably should have because they're actually not too bad at wholesale. Like sandboas are easy and they're good beginner snakes, right? Like you always have that outlet. But I love keeping that like niche stuff, right? Like I got the Kentucky pines and I've held some of those back and got the black milks. Should probably hold a pair back from them. Just they're fun snakes to keep. Bahamas though are my main kind of one that I'm trying to do for the hobby kind of thing. Even though
that's cool, you have a very unique collection. Yeah, that's not like like if you were to like look at your collection, there's no like it's just like random,
Yeah,
it's
and then
cool.
Subox, West Texas.
It was like
Texas held back a pair of those.
What's going on?
And then there's like newts and fish and all these other weird ass things, Pac-Man frogs and tortoises. Like none of it makes sense.
I mean, I've had, I've bred leopard geckos and crested geckos and tokay geckos and dart frogs and like you kind of ball pythons. Like you kind of just go through a little bit of everything. I've kept a lot of different species, and then you kind of just figure out like, okay, I've kept those for a while. And, I think that if you kind of like lose that spark for it, it's better to move it on to someone who has that same spark than just to keep it around just because you feel obligated to. I think that the animal would be better off with someone who has that a little bit more passion for it. So that's kind of what I tell myself, like, Okay, well, I really like the Dominicans. They're fun. They're gorgeous. Like some of them are just like at nighttime, dude. Some of them are so bright orange or so nice red. Um, but do I like it more than this other stuff? And they do take up more room, and they're a little bit more work. So it's like, okay, Randy. Well, if you want to make your life a little easier, why don't you do? Let's consolidate a little bit, right? Let's either put these on loan to someone who's more passionate. If they're willing to work with them, that's something that I'd be willing to do, or sell them to someone for a good price if I know that they're going to be reproduced because they're all proven adults. And I have a few holdbacks with them too.
I think with the animal you keep, it's one thing once you bred them once or twice, and then you're like, well, if I don't like them that much, why am I keeping them? Like I've done it. Now it's like check mark done. Like give you an example. I bred spotted pythons 3 years in a row. Those things were little like deadly killing machines that bite anything and wrap everything. And eventually I was like, why the heck am I keeping these? Like I bred them, I got it done. And all they do is try to eat anything from the hooks to the thongs and like, they don't really do anything for me. So I moved them on. But now I know that I never, ever need to get a spotted python again. I've done it. I've been there. I kept Angolan pythons. Like Angolans were cool. They were pretty. But the entire time I felt like I was keeping ball pythons, and I just, I bred them. I bred them 2 years in a row, and I was like, okay, I'll move them on to Shan, and then Shan bred them once, twice, and then he's like, I don't really care much for them. I'm like, well, let's just sell our trio, and then we moved them on, right? But now it's been done, and I love the idea of doing a new species, getting it done, and then once you've bred it a couple times, if you want to keep breeding it and breeding, then it's your thing.
Exactly.
If you kind of lose that interest, though, you know what? There's nothing wrong. Move it on to somebody else and try other things.
100%. And you'll know too, like it usually takes about that, like the first breeding, you're like, was this a fluke? That's cool. Was it an accident? I want to see if I can do this again. And then you do it again. And some of us kind of need that, like, okay, if I do it 3 or 4 times, I know what I'm doing, And so like, that's like, for me, it's like, if I'm breeding a new species, I'm going to breed it like 3 or 4 times to see if like, I know what I'm doing. But I've been there, done that, and it's like there's so many different phenotypes within the Dominicans. It's like I could have a million holdbacks. I don't have the room for that. That's not the focus of my collection. And so it's like, okay, I'm going to keep them and just enjoy them. But if there's someone that comes along that has that passion for that species, I'm definitely going to try to work with that person in order to keep them going, keep that available in the hobby, because there's only a few of us in the States that produce them, so if people are like on the Facebook groups and stuff and they're asking, Chad, Tom Crutchfield doesn't really do that anymore. So it was just like Chad, me, and then there would be like a handful of other guys that had some luck. I know Leah over at Davenport, she's having some good luck. And I know they're doing like the little calico stuff too. But yeah, and so it's like, as long as there's people working with them and there's other people doing it, then I feel like maybe I can take a step back, let them enjoy it, give them the spotlight there, and then just work with the species that I love.
Yeah, for sure. Dom, do you have any more questions, or
I'm not gonna lie, I'm fading away. But in my defense, I got up at 4. I'm on shift number 4 in a row, and I'm working I got to get up at 4 tomorrow morning for another 12-hour shift. So I'm gonna die at some point. Hey, I'm off for 4 days after. I want to obviously talk green trees. I feel like I honestly, I wanted to do more Amazon and really cover it well. And I think we covered it pretty well, actually. That was actually a really, really great show. So I'm going to just drop the green trees and say either we bring you back on and do green trees, or we'll just, we'll do it another time. I don't really have another question.
Cool. I appreciate you guys.
But the show was great. Mike, do you have a last question you want to ask, or are you happy with that?
I don't really think so, because I think I know the answer to if you wanted to keep any other Chilobothrus, and I think for now you probably are kind of good on those, unless you.
Well,
I was
yeah,
gonna be like, well, you could do 4-dive, but that's even more work because you have to assist feed those things for like 2 years.
I have talked to some people, and the Jamaicans are kind of like, if someone offered me a pair of Jamaicans, I may do that, but that would have to be gifted to me because most of them are out of my state anyways. So it's like
There's
the
always Bobby
probability
Pebbles.
of that. But I have put some feelers in some people's ears that know that, like, if they want to put them in someone's hands that could potentially breed them, like, I like a challenge. Like, people know that, like, I don't like to always be challenged in the moment, but I know it's good for me. And I seek challenges because I know it always typically leads to something of more value. So.
Awesome.
Very nice. Randy, do you want to just drop any of your contacts just so people can reach out to you, buy your Amazons, annoy the crap out of you, whatever you'd like?
Yeah, that's fine. You can add me on Facebook if you want. If we don't have a lot of mutual friends, Facebook is more personal stuff for me, but I'm on there. I know some people don't have Instagram. So just look up my name, which is down here, Randy Pegues, and you'll find me on Facebook. I do have a website, but right now it's kind of under construction just because I sell it so quickly, so I can't ever keep up on the inventory. But if you want to go on that website, I believe it is stoicarboreals.com. There are some good pictures in the gallery and stuff like that, so you can see some of the breeders that I'm working with. I need to update that. It's been a couple of years at least since I've done that, but at least you can kind of see some of the animals. Also, Instagram is probably where I'm most active. That's where I probably sell most of my animals. That's probably where I engage most with conversation. If people reach out to me, I usually try to always respond to them. Talking snakes is a passion for me, so it's not like a drag. If I don't respond to you right away, it's because I'm a really busy guy. I have a lot going on all the time. I have 2 companies that have about 12 to 15 employees apiece. Plus, I do the snakes as a business on the side as well, and then I have 5 kids, so I'm all over the place. But Instagram is the best place, and that would be Randall Pegues. So it's just Rand, RANDALL PEGUES, and you can find me on Instagram. There, you'll see a red Amazon tree boa as my profile picture. Go ahead and add me. I'll accept everyone that adds me on there. So follow me, and I'll try to follow you back.
Awesome. I'll have all that in the show notes for any of the listeners.
I appreciate you guys. I really appreciate you having me on.
Hey, thanks,
Randy.
Coming
it was
on.
Awesome to talk to you, and I'll let Dom close it out.
Actually, I was going to ask Michael, do you want to do our advertisement because you haven't done it this show?
Well, actually,
right before we close
I'll
it out?
say it. I'll say it now, but I'm gonna just record it and plug it in at the beginning.
Okay, you want to just do that then?
Well, yeah, I'll just do that. I'll plug it in at the beginning and make it sound.
All right, because I was gonna say you completely forgot it, but
I know. I realized
we're gonna put it on
halfway through.
All right, fair enough. Randy, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. That was awesome. Please don't click the leave button. We'll chat for a minute after because we just need to make sure it uploads. To everybody listening live, thanks, man. I appreciate you guys jumping on. Click the follow button, the subscribe, whatever doorbell thingies on YouTube it is. I know it's not a doorbell. And for anybody listening on the podcast, the live episode always appears a week later. Although this one is really the episode for this Sunday, which might be in a week and a half later for the Spotify, for the Apple podcast and all that kind of crap. So it's probably gonna be live on YouTube, but it's gonna also be discharged in a week and a half. So to everybody, please subscribe, please log on, help us out in any way you can. Thanks for logging on. Appreciate everybody listening. Randy, we appreciate you. Appreciate your knowledge. It was awesome. And to everybody, have a great night.
It was an honor.